let's talk about something that happened here in New York just in the past few weeks. You're looking here at a rendering for the Culture Shed, which is a building that's been designed by Diller Scofidio Renfro for a new development, the Hudson Yards, on the west side, pretty much at the northern end of the High Line. And it's going to have a culture space that also has a retractable shed that comes in and out, and that's an extendable space for exhibitions and for culture. But the neighborhood association is actually saying that the Hudson Yards could lack class. They are concerned about what the related and the leadership of this particular space means by culture. And here I quote a board member saying, "A lot of us are interested in culture. It's a nice sounding word. I don't want to nitpick, but what's not cultural? A boat show? A culinary exhibit? I think I define culture more narrow than perhaps you do." Very interesting. So there is still this division about high and low culture. So maybe they're afraid of getting to this, which is the International Cat Video Film Festival that was held in August 2012 at the Walker Art Center. Extremely successful. It was spoken about everywhere. This was, the Cat Vid Fest at the Walker Art Center. It was fantastic, and everybody talked about it, and everybody really, it expanded even more this idea of the cat as the icon of the internet. So it was a really quite amazing festival. Is that dangerous for the Walker Art Center? And is it dangerous for MoMA to acquire video games? Very interestingly, we started this acquisition we worked on it for a year and a half, but we announced it last November. And we were surprised by the positive outburst of affection, criticism from the video game community because we didn't have the video games that they liked most. Everybody has a really strong investment, but we had some of the classics, Pac-Man, we also had Myst. We started with 14, we're going to expand it even more. And of course, we raised a few brows and we made a few upper lips quiver. For instance, a very stiff upper lip, Jonathan Jones, the Guardian art critic, who said, "Sorry, MoMA, video games are not art because you cannot exhibit Pac-Man and Tetris next to Picasso." And Picasso here got brought in so many times. So I just read the review. I was not even hurt because it was so polarized, and it was all about saying that video games are not Picasso. And I'm like, yeah, they're not Picasso, but all right. So the same Guardian rebutted and said, "Are video games art? The debate that shouldn't be. Last week, our art critic suggested the games cannot qualify it as art. But is he right? And does it matter?" Very interesting. So one of the questions is, does time make low art into high art? Think of Shakespeare. It used to be popular culture, and then after many centuries, it's considered completely different. John Maeda, without any prompt, wrote on Wired that video games belong in the MoMA as a response to the Guardian critic. And this all started this big diatribe. It was very interesting. Also, we went on the approval matrix, where here, just brilliant, just highbrow, but not too much, which is quite interesting. I mean, we're already going in the right direction. I really liked that. And this was the best. So this was the New Republic. Really, really serious, really long essay. And look here, it's a fascinating debate, but the answer to the above question is, put bluntly, no. Video games aren't art because they are quite thoroughly something else, code. So Picasso is not art, it's oil paint. And the funny thing is that once upon a time, other people had doubts about what was art and what wasn't. This is a picture, it's quite beautiful, of the Demoiselles d'Avignon that, as they were shown at the Museum of Modern Art in 1939 with some of the trustees around them. And these are pieces of art that were foreign loans to the exhibition Cubism and Abstract Art in 1936 that the US Customs stopped because did not believe that they were art. So once again, you are used to a certain context for objects, and it's hard to accept that they are art. And it's hard to understand also what high and low culture is. We have several definitions of culture and as popular culture in the readings that I have sent you, but Matthew Arnold always comes to the rescue when we need to understand more about wisdom in our population, in our civilization. Culture is the best which has been thought and said in the world. High and Low was an exhibition that happened here at MoMA in 1990 and 1991. And it was curated by the newly appointed chief curator of painting and sculpture, Kirk Barnadow, together with Adam Gopnik, that at that time was the art critic of The New Yorker, and also his former pupil. High and Low was excoriated in the critics, especially Roberta Smith wrote that it didn't go far enough in the connection that it could have made between popular culture and high art. Especially, Roberta said something that I found very interesting, that throughout the exhibition, what was shown was a movement from bottom to top, never from top to bottom. Quite interesting. Always low influencing high, and never the opposite. And she saw that as an ideological position. And it's interesting because from the readings, you might have noticed that many times the definition of popular culture is ideological and connected to politics and to the class system. This was also part of the High and Low exhibition. It's our famous F111. What makes popular culture worthy of a museum? What happens when you have something that everybody loves, but at the same time is considered good enough? And here I show two exhibitions that provoked completely different reactions. The one above is the Armani show that was at the Guggenheim in 2000, and the one below is an image from the Alexander McQueen, and this is another image from the Alexander McQueen show that was last year at the Met. Two very respected fashion designers. Both exhibitions were designed and also supported by the house, by the fashion house, but the Armani show was considered almost like outrageous, and instead the Alexander McQueen show was hailed. And it's not only because Alexander McQueen had just died. They both are geniuses, granted, Alexander McQueen a different type. But I think it's just the communication and the kind of offer to the public, the kind of exhibition design and the kind of communication were completely different. But it's interesting. We should think about all this more to understand where popular and critical success come together and the ambition that we should try to aspire to. I like this Flaubert quote. "I have always tried to live in an ivory tower, but a tide of shit is beating at its walls, threatening to undermine it." So is that what we're up against? Well, here tonight to discuss all this, we have four wonderful speakers. The first is Kim Hastreiter. She founded Paper Magazine, which started out as a black and white feuilleton and became a glossy and now an entire agency devoted to street culture, but not only, street culture that becomes high culture and that creates this wonderful maelstrom and complete cycle. Then we will have Glenn Lowry, the director of the Museum of Modern Art. And he's an expert in the relationship with audiences and the relationship between ivory towers and public squares. It's a tension that he has felt on his skin forever. Then we'll have June Cohen. She's the one that is responsible for the dissemination of ideas. You know, the motto for TED is ideas worth spreading, but instead of spreading them to the people that can afford to go to the conference itself, they're now online. Kind of a counterintuitive model because they're completely free. And you know, she will talk to us about that idea of really disseminating ideas without dumping them down. Last but not least, Michael Ershon. He is the champion. He's the Superman of popular culture. He's able to tell you about popular culture as if you were listening to the most amazing sonetto, or you know, it's quite incredible how he can write about it. So you see, these four amazing people really represent high, low, loving low, not caring about it at all. And I really look forward to hearing from them. And I'm going to start with Kim.